Greetings, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to this latest edition of RE094, where I take old stories I've narrated and update them to modern audio standards. This particular story is called The Legend of Jim, written by TMarkos. The bar was not amazing as bars went, but it was passable. Ticket sighed, his arms rattling together in a cascade of fatigue and a long-anticipated relaxation as he reclined into the dingy, pitted plasterboard chair. Sometimes, at the end of a run, you got lucky and there was a fun spot where the owners actually cared about the atmosphere and menu. And sometimes, the station had a reeking cart where the janitor sold distillate that he had fermented out of a waste compactor. This place was just average. It sold beverages and had seats. He cast a glittering eye across the table towards his companion, who was prodding at flecks caught in the foam atop his beverage with a suspicious look. A human named Andrew Lee. He was Ticket's sole crewmate on their long-haul freighter. Drew and Ticket had been crewing together for about 8 months now, which was long enough for Ticket to know that Drew had already decided that he was going to drink it, but that some theatrics were necessary to display the depth of his dissatisfaction with the current venue. Drew eventually settled back and took a long pull from his flagon, smacking his lips and wiping some foam from his bristly upper lip. Contemplation gave way to mild disgust, then resignation as he shrugged and drank it again. Ticket chittered. I smell some methanol coming off of that, he said brightly. Drew coughed, shooting a dark look back across the table. Leave me be, you stupid bug. 9 decicycles on the run. We ran out of booze on 1 decicycle in. Because you drank it, interjected Ticket. Meaning, Drew continued bullishly, that I have been subsisting off reprocessed water for 8 decades, and I resent your attempts to diminish my enjoyment of this undoubtedly lethal swill. He batted lover's eyes at his mug, which hissed softly as it off-gassed a slow, foul trickle of something. Ticket couldn't quite place it. I didn't particularly want to. I'll leave you to it, he said magnanimously with a roll of his major eyes. The gesture meant nothing to his species, but he had adopted a few of the more achievable items of the human body language for Drew's sake, as humans tended to find him somewhat inscrutable otherwise. Drew snorted into his mug, sending flecks of foam scudding over the table and onto the floor. You're getting a lot better at that, you know. You should be careful you don't pick up too many bad habits. They won't let you back into the hive. Drew scratched his beard, pondering. Would they have an issue with you acting human around them? Ticket chittered. Alien, maybe, but human is fine. Nobody would object to acting human. Why? Said Drew, genuinely curious now. Ticket fixed him with a glance, then swiveled a few more eyes to stare as he realized that Drew wasn't poking fun at him for once. You don't know about Jim, he said incredulously. Drew raised an eyebrow. Dare say we invented Jim, unless there's more to given names than you've told me. Ticket bristled. How do you not know this? It's literally the most well-known story amongst the hit. Drew patted his head and body thoroughly, then turned his hands palm upwards. No shell, no feathers, he exclaimed in mock surprise. Ticket shook his head. I can't believe you don't know about Jim, he muttered. He was human. House is not taught in human schools. Jim who? Asked Drew. I don't know of very many famous Jims. Ticket let out another rattling sigh, then drew himself up to a traditional storytelling posture. Drink your pipe, scum, and listen up. I'm going to tell you the story of Jim. Long ago, the hit were young in mind. They walked the water with joy. They walked the shore with joy. And the sun shone down brightly over all. Wait, said Drew, holding out his hands. What's the walking with joy business? Why are you talking like that? It's a traditional story, snapped Ticket, his scales flaring. Shut up and drink. Let me finish. He shot one more irritated glare at Drew, who was shaking with silent laughter while trying to wear his best wide-eyed, rapt pupil expression before recomposing himself and continuing. Long ago, the hit were young in mind. They walked the water with joy. They walked the shore with joy. And the sun shone down brightly over all. For an age we lived with joy. The water and the sun provided life. Our arms were full of food. and our shells were safe in dens. One day, the sky gave us Jim. He fell on a pillar of fire and came with smoke and thunder. To the sun and shore and water, Jim was alone of his kind. He called to the sky for his brute mates, but none came to answer his call. In time he named the hit his brood, and we him. Sorry, Drew interjected, holding up his hands. I don't mean to interrupt, but I have some questions about this whole thing. Ticket sighed irritatedly, then nodded. How long ago was this? Drew asked. You're talking like he fell on you all in the Stone Age. Prior, actually, said Ticket. We weren't really doing much with tools back then. The home world had everything we wanted in abundance. We were smart enough, just no pressure to improve. Despite that, it wasn't that long ago that this happened, just over 3 kilocycles. Holy shit, exclaimed Drew. And now you're a spacefarers. The hell happened to bring you all up to speed so fast? Ticket didn't answer, but instead fixed Drew with a patient glare until slow realization crept over his face. Nodding, Drew motioned for Ticket to continue. Jim walked the water with a hit. Jim walked the shore with a hit. Jim did not feel joy, for Jim was old in mind. Jim brought tools and arts from the sky, and with them he learned of the world. And as he learned of the hit, so we learned from him. First, he taught us words, which gave our minds a shape. Second, he taught us writing, which gave our minds a pattern. Last, he used the words and letters to fill our minds with knowledge. And knowing this, our minds shouted and screamed and burned and grew old. We walked and asked Jim why he had done this. Where there was sun and water before, there was now discord and strife, as we looked beyond what we had enjoyed. So what? This Jim guy crashed on your planet and turned your island paradise into civilization. Buddy, I'm not so sure that you should be thanking him. Drew shook his head. Most of the time we discourage random folks from seeking out uncontacted species. But that far back, Ticket nodded. Jim wasn't there by choice. He was one of the earlier cartographical vessels your people sent out, and his ship got knocked out by a flare of our sun. It was experiencing intense activity at the time. In fact, it's why he did what he did. He fixed Drew with an expectant look. Drew nodded and motioned for Ticket to continue. Jim was saddened to see our pain, but he spoke to us and urged calm. He told us that we must look beyond ourselves, for the sun will soon turn against the water. We listened, though our hearts were burdened, and Jim taught us how to shape the wood of the land, how to shape the metal of the earth, how to shape the flow of the air. Years passed, and we grew in number, but Jim was one, and he passed into death, leaving his knowledge and power for us. Standing alone against the sun, Jim left us his letters and words. Guidance for a path up from the water. Guidance for a path over the land. Guidance for a path towards the stars. When the sun lashed out in its rage, we were saddened for what was lost. But sorrow only plagues the living, and both life and memory are his gifts. Ticket folded his upper arms, signifying the end of the story. Our sun went over about a half kilocycle ago, and our original homeworld was destroyed. Because we had so long to prepare and so much of a technological head start, instead of an extinction event, we lost only about 5% of our population and were able to preserve much of the plant and animal life. Drew whistled softly. That's one hell of a thing, buddy. So the hit, home fleet, Ticket nodded. Our entire civilization, until we resettled on our more recent colonies. They sat in contemplation, Drew draining the last of his mug and looking at the foam slowly sliding down to collect at the bottom. Finally, he grinned and slid his mug over to Ticket. So in spirit of thankfulness, he shook his head firmly. I don't owe you shit. Drew blinked. Excuse me? He managed, somewhat taken aback. Sorry, Ticket chided. That's from Jim as well. He left us some instructions on what to do when we met humans eventually. Laughing, Drew got up to refill his drink. Sounds like he was a pretty smart guy after all. Ticket nodded and reclined further, the chair creaking worriedly at him. He was at that. The final lessons of Jim. Number 1. Just call me Jim, dammit. I should have never mentioned my last name to you spiky bastards. 2. Stop fecking killing each other over food. 3. Actually, just don't kill each other. It's not nice. 4. Use the plans from the computer to keep working. 5. Don't be a dick to the AI. It's trying to help you. 6. Don't just work on the fun stuff. All of the plans are there for a reason. 7. Don't start worshipping me like some fecking savior. 8. Don't stop worshipping the AI either. 9. When you meet other humans, remember that you don't owe them shit. 10. Have fun out there and be good. End of story. I'd quickly like to thank the T5 peeps: Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Bushmaster 177, Henry the Red, Caspar Arnholtz, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Elijah Silvercross, Dragzoon WRE, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.